At home, or do you go back to California?
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming down today. My name is Brad Ka'alele Wong, president of Kailua Canoe Club. Um, and yeah, I just want to just to aloha everybody for taking the time out of their day to come down. So glad that we're actually able to get down here together. It's been a crazy year and a half or whatever it's been. And I'm just really excited that we're gonna get out to being down here together again as a family, all the different clubs, Kione, Lance Guys over here, and then Kailua Canoe Club, and then everybody else. And this place is it's a second home to me. Everybody here is my family, the club especially my family, and I know that's the same for a lot of us at Kailua Canoe Club and the other clubs as well. So just to start us off, before we pass to Kamoa, I just want to start off with a quick pule Naumakua. This is just to help call upon all of our Aumakua, our ancestors, our Akua, all of these things, just to be here in place, and then all of everybody else that are part of Kailua Canoe Club and the other clubs that haven't had a chance to get down here yet. So hopefully soon we'll all be here as a family once again. So here we go. Naumakua mai kala iki a kala kau. Mai ko oku ia ka hala vai. Naumakua kua ka ia hina kua kia hina alo. Ia ka a kau i kalani. O kiha i kalani. O ia i kalani. Nunu i kalani. Ka holo i kalani. Eia ka pulapula a o kou. O ohana waa o Kailua. E malama o kou ia mā kou. E ulu i kalani. E ulu i ka honua. E ulu i ka pai aino o Hawaii. E ho mai ka ike. E ho mai ka ikaika, e ho mai ke akamai, e ho mai ka maopopopono, e ho mai ka ike pāpālua, e ho mai ka mana. Amama uanoa. Okay, so mahalo nui, and even though we're not going to be able to get these canoes in the water, it's just a symbolism for us to start up again and have a good season. So without further ado, here's a Kamoa Kalama.
We're going to improvise as we go through over here. So, all right. Aloha, everyone. What I'd first like to do is, today's a day of reflection, a day of appreciation, a day of acknowledgement for everything, for all of those that have come before us, and for all of the folks that really care for this place that's so special to us. We're Kailua Canoe Club and Kione and Hawaii Ulu Okala paddles. And so I thought it was very fitting when we were all talking about earlier, this is 2 years now, that we haven't had canoe paddling, organized paddling, and the opportunity for us to get together is a special time for all of us to be able to do that. But it wouldn't be proper if we didn't acknowledge what came before us. And so that's why I'd asked Kioni Canoe Club to be here, and with Stu Kalam over here, whose dad was, and their canoe club was just so influential to canoe paddling in general throughout the state of Hawaii. And so I thought it's only proper, and I'd like to refer to him as a governor here. He has a perch up on the hill, but in all seriousness and with a great deal of respect. He doesn't like to talk, so I just wanted to, we had asked, while we do our blessing, we talk about our history, and in the Hawaiian culture, we talk a lot about our moku auhau, what's so important to us. And the stage that they set for us, and the setting was so important because it laid groundwork for us to go ahead and continue to build from, but to also acknowledge the fact that we've got this huge kuleana that shares. So Lance was with Kioni also, and I'm going to ask him just to say a few brief words before I start the blessing and start sharing that.
What do we say?
Just say hello.
Hello.
Lance,
Mahalo to Kamoa and Kailua Canoe Club for including us this morning, Vaiaulu Okala. For like Brad and Kamoa said, just a time to get everybody together here. It's been too long, and I'm just looking forward to seeing everyone back on the water, and mahalo nui.
Change. Okay, just a couple of things that always more than a couple of things, so I shouldn't use that phrase. I'm nervous. I'm always nervous, but canoe paddling has just been part of our history as we go through, and as I mentioned in my earlier comments, it's a time of reflection, a time of appreciation. We've all gone through experiencing the pandemic, and we've had a great deal of anxiety as we've all tried to make the best of it. And we look at the spirit of this place. We come to Kailua Beach, we think about it, and we ask, why do we do what we do? But many of us that are here, we're all influenced by things that happened before. And so I wanted to spend some time this morning just commenting a little bit about the history of canoe paddling and the history of canoe blessings and the history of blessings in general with respect to our club. Generally, every year we have a kahu here with us, Kahu Bishaw, but he couldn't make it today. But I'm going to give some history to tie that all together before I do my blessing. But I thought it would be only fitting initially to start off many, many years ago in the early 1800s. There were a lot of battles going on in Hawaii. And in order to really appreciate what influenced canoe paddling, we have to understand our history. There are a lot of battles going on in Hawaii. And on Hawaii Island, as Kamehameha was doing aligning his chiefs and everything, there were a lot of battles there that happened, and there were casualties, as we've all experienced with respect to the pandemic. One of the casualties is there was a battle up near Kealakekua Bay between the different chiefs, and the residual of that was many of when they lost the battle, the husbands and the wives were killed, but sometimes the children were spared. In this situation, what I'd like to talk to, where the influence for a lot of our Christianity here in Hawaii was carried on because of this person being exiled to the mainland and coming back here. There's a gentleman, Henry Opuka Kahaia, that was from Kealakekua Bay, whose father was a chief. He was killed. The mother was killed because they lost the battle. To give you an idea, we've all raced in Kealakekua Bay. Young Henry went ahead and swam out to a boat that was out there, the Triumph, in the bay in Kealakekua Bay, and begged the ship captain to allow him to be a servant because he had been given to his uncle to raise him, but he was being raised as a kahuna. And the reason why I share that kahuna and the Christians part of it is because too often when we speak about the Hawaiians in Hawaii and the Christianity, they tend to be depicted as being in conflict, and when they weren't. They weren't in conflict, and so that's why I started with Henry. Henry went off. He went on the ship. He ended up going through China, New York. He ended up settling and being adopted, being taken into by this Reverend Dwight from Yale College. He went on to spend time in Connecticut, in New Haven, Connecticut, and really brought the whole Christian part of it. And the reason why I'm sharing that with you is because Kahu's not here today. But Henry's works that he came back here, and we look at Ahupunana School here. Henry, as I was sharing with Landon earlier today, Henry Opukahia never made it to Hawaii, but he was very influential in putting together a lot of what they call the Baibalo Hemolele, that the Hawaiian Bibles that were put together that basically took a lot of the scriptures that were being taught by the Christians at that time and put them into the Hawaiian language. And so he brought that, but he never made it to Hawaii. He died. He died of the measles, if I'm not mistaken, at a young age. But he influenced a lot of what goes on at Ahupunanaleo. Ahupunanaleo's first school on Kinaole Street is called the Henry Opukahaia School as we go through. And so we were all been involved in that. We see how Olelo Hawaii has been so powerful for us. And when we look at our blessings and what we do, it's so critical to understand the foundation that from which it came. Henry was influenced by his kahuna training. And the kahuna training, what Hawaiian did, Hawaiian culture and blessings and praise, you praise Akua. They never worship the tree. They were appreciative of the tree. I think over time, sometimes it's been depicted that we're worshiping, you're not worshiping trees, you're appreciating the tree, you respect nature, and you do those things. So there was a huge blend constantly. So that's the influence for me too. I was raised as a Catholic. My mom wanted me to be a priest. I was an altar boy for the longest time, and coincidentally, life experiences prepare you for your future. The priest, for some reason, would take me to all the funerals, weddings, and all those things. And I went selfishly because that was a way for me to make $5 every time. So that's where my business background came from. But in all seriousness, as we go through, the reason why I started with Henry Opukahia is I just want to acknowledge two people that are here, it's going to be my theme throughout the blessing today, that reflect Reverend Dwight and the caring attitude that he had for this young Hawaiian boy who had no family, and the willingness to take him in and nurture him and educate him. And we have Pat Leonard and Susan Mayer over here who have been caring for our keiki in a real meaningful way. And that Kailua Canoe Club was built on kids and the keiki. And we all here as adults that are here, our kuleana is to make the world better for them. And during a time of pandemic, many of those activities were taken away from our children. And Susan and Pat took the time to let the kids know that their excitement, their energy has a great deal of value. And I'm sure the parents really appreciated that. So I wanted to acknowledge them for that part of it, because it's been very inspirational for me to come down here and see the effort that they put forth in helping perpetuate Hawaiian canoe racing as we go forward. And all of you here that are involved in coaching, it's real critical. So that was a part why I brought Henry and the story of Henry Opukahia into to share with you. Now you know who this guy is. They call him Obukaya. I had the opportunity of going back to Yale and taking some courses up there, and it was really interesting to see how they really acknowledge his importance to Christianity coming from that place and sharing it with the rest of the world and with Hawaii. So that part of it. So I wanted to acknowledge that part of it. The blessing today, I brought things, it's my kids' thing. The Kamehameha kids, when I was a trustee, made this umeke for me. And so I thought it would be fitting to come down. In years past, I brought different things from, like the King of Tonga, but I thought today the theme of children and the importance of children to Hawaii and keeping this sport that we have as Hawaiian canoe racing being so integral to inspiring kids to go off and do a number of great things in the world. So when I was growing up, we never had organized sports. This was it, and we learned a great deal of discipline from our coaches. And we all knew that they cared about us, but sometimes we didn't really agree with them all the time. Especially Stu's dad would make us paddle in the sand for hours at a time, days, weeks, before you finally got into a canoe with a stick. And I shared this story with you folks before in times past. I remember the day when I got to go in this canoe that was like 800 pounds, made of blue, every extra piece of fiberglass that they had, and we'd roll it down to the beach. And I remember when I got to jump in a canoe, and I never forgot, I sat in seat one. I had a paddle that was about 2 times my height, and I paddled my rear end off, and I went home. I was just beaming. I told my mom, I got to paddle today, But the next day I was back in the sand. So, but it's just that the whole idea about the enthusiasm and the strength that comes. I brought I go through my yard and I get inspired by different things. My parents had planted a number of trees in my house when I started, so I brought a young guava from a guava tree that turns into very strong fruit. I bought, this is the la'amea. With this, you can make uli uli, you can make Hawaiian instruments. There's a tree in my yard, but it's fresh off the tree. I brought I have olena growing in my yard, which is a medicinal plant. I brought a piece of that just started up. I had to thank the tree for letting me take this off before it just came out of the ground just like 3 days ago. These are young red tea leaf that my dad had planted. And so, again, the youth theme as we go through. So today I just wanted to go ahead and bless the canoes in the way using an old oli that the Ku'una Kalaiva'a would use. And basically what it does is it basically asks to grant blessings not only to the canoes but to the coaches as we go through, to the paddlers that have come before us, those that go after, and to give us strength. It asks us to keep our canoe upright. And so as I'll do is I'll chant and then I'll explain, I'll chant and I'll explain. It'll be better that way than going all the way through. So I'm going to just start the first chant and go through. A number of years ago, I blessed the Kaiko'o, which is over there, which is Lance's club's canoe on that side. It's one of those sleek, fast canoes that actually reflect the innovation that the Hawaiians had in many years. Very innovative. You know, you talk about King Kalakaua, for example. People tend to reflect him as the merry monarch. He loved to dress like the British royalty. But King Kalakaua was one of the smartest individuals ever. He recalibrated the distance of the planets and the sun. He did that here by partnering with a number of astronomers. He set up the different focal points, one in Honolulu, one in Huli'e Palace, and another in Sydney, Australia. And they recalibrated the distances between the planets, which hold till today. He also had lights and electricity in Iolani Palace before we had it in our White House. But people tend not to talk too much about that, but about all the other things. So I just wanted to, and that's what Lance's boat, when I got to bless that, that's what it reminded me of, was innovation. While we can respect the past and what's going on and respect it and create different venues, we also have to create venues for fresh thinking, and that's what the Kaiko'o represents. The Kalana Kila was our first canoe that we had, and again, this boat, thanks to Kaioni, and this boat was actually owned by Jimmy Trask, and that's part of our history as Kailua Canoe Club. Kailua Hawaiian Civic, Jimmy Trask owned it, and that's Jimmy Trask's name, Kalana Kila, which means to be victorious. And so we were able to obtain the boat from Hawaiian Civic Club. We started off as Kailua Hawaiian Civic Club for a number of years, and then we were able to break away. We got access to buy this canoe, and that's where Kailua Canoe Club started. And we have a number of great series going on, set up by Landon Opunui to talk about that, so I refer you folks to that. But the Kalana Kila has been our boat that's been reflective of Kailua Canoe Club. It's won many races. We've cared for it. We've really appreciated the canoe, but we've had to show our respect by our coaches really expecting the best out of our paddlers, but giving them their best and to bring out the best in the paddlers. So that's what the Kalana Kila represents. This is a Lanakila Malokolokahi, was a boat, a log that was provided to us by my Uncle Red Kanuha from Kona. And this boat was actually initially built by club members with the guidance of Ku'una Kalaiva'a, Wright Bowman, Senior, Wright Bowman Jr., up at Kamehameha Schools. And canoe club members went up there every day and actually helped shape this canoe when it was first built. So that's the mana that's in this boat. It will be there forever because we worked on that. And every time a paddler has an opportunity to work on their canoe, you're putting your energy into that boat. That's the strength that comes to the boat. So that when you're in the canoe, you never feel alone when you're paddling. You know, you never feel alone, but you also remember that, look to yourself. Am I being strong? Am I contributing everything possible to make this canoe move faster? Am I thinking about those others? You know, what do I need to do better to help my crew member perform at a higher level, or to feel a part of the crew? So as the last part of this name, Lokahi, means to work together as we go through that. So I'm going to just start with the canoe blessing. So we can, well, I'm going to start my genealogy first so I got grounding over here, and then I'll go into the canoe blessing. O nā kumuaku apau I hanau ia I ka po I ka lahiki ku, e o mai ke kai mai. O nā kumuali apau I hanau ia I ka po I ka lahiki ku, e o mai ke kai mai. O nā vela uali I apau I hanau ia I ka po I ka lahiki ku, e o mai ke kai mai. O nā lalali I apau I hanau ia I ka po I ka lahiki ku, e o mai ke kai mai. Iawe ki hanui lulu moku, iawe lilo, iawe umi, iawe o nui amahi, iawe o koela au, iawe ka ia, iawe ka wahine ku e o ka hili o pua, iawe ka onohi o ka la, iawe ku o malie, iawe ka e ka wā ke kau ilani, iawe ke ki lani wahini ali I o puna, iawe ka mohai ki o ka lani, paliko nā mauna kea, paliko nā mauna loa, paliko nā hualalai, paliko nā ko lau. Aloha e, aloha e, aloha e. This part that I'm going to share, what I shared with you before, is just my genealogy. And if you notice the different places, my family's from Hawaii Island, from Maui. So I'm talking about the different peaks and Ko'olau, which is grounding for us here. This part here is, as I shared with you earlier, this is the chant that was used by the Kahuna Kalaiva'a when they'd go into the mountains to pick logs they would use a Elepaio bird would fly through and identify the log that they shouldn't pick. And then they would fell the log, and then they would use this oli. So basically what it says is they call on the references to the akua that would protect the canoes at that time was Mokuali'i and Kupahi and He'elea. And then they would ask basically to keep it upright, and that keep us from flipping, keep us from avoiding the reef, bring us home safely. Help us to ride some waves and bring us home safely. There's also a part in there that you'll hear me say, Eia ko'aloha ia kahana ila ho'aloha nui. Basically what we're doing, what we're giving as our gift. I'll say, he uku, he makana, he alana, mohai oko. What I'm saying is I'm giving to you as a gift, offering a gift to you, Akua, our love for one another, our hard work, and our friendship. And that's the strength that we use for that. So that's what I'll do now. Okay. E mokuali'i kupahi elea. Ia kalanakila, ia lanakila maulo kalokahe ia kai ko'o. Ua pa'a kava'a. Ai ho'lana iaku ana i ke kai. O kanai ai hulu kalawa'a me ka vai. E nana ponolo ko, e makaala i nā pū koa, nā pū pohaku, nā kahilo papa, na nalu na ala no kamoana. Ia ko aloha, ia kahana, ia hola nui, he uku, he makana, he alane mohai o ko. Aloha e, aloha e, aloha e. I'm going to share an oli with you today because it's as I reflect back on the past 2 years, when I was thinking about this on my way home, flying home from the mainland 2 days ago, I thought I'd share a prayer of gratitude, and it's called Maino oi ka'ohani nui ha mai ka'ola. And what it is it's thank you, Heavenly Father, for the gift of life. I think after these past 2 years, this has probably been something that's challenged all of us. Those that are working in the caregiving field, that have had to care for people, that have the privilege of doing that, those that are trying to heal, and just those that feel it from afar, they're trying to provide support to those that have been challenged. And so basically it'll talk about the magnificence, the brilliance of the sun, the magnificence of the moon, the many stars in the sky that'll represent different things. Like the first part of it, I'll say, Maino oi ka'ohani nui ha mai ka'ola. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the gift of life. Eia no kala, e aloi nei, the brilliance of the sun, the magnificence of the sun. Kupa ka mahina, nani ka maha'o. Mahina is a moon, just the magnificence of that. Eia na hoku, imo imo o kalani. When you talk about the hoku, the stars in the sky, stars in the sky, there's just millions of them. But those millions of stars, they represent aspirations, they represent dreams. They represent opportunities that we all have as coaches and as canoe paddlers to develop a camaraderie that will stick with you for the rest of your lives. They represent the many opportunities that we'll have to express our gratitude for those that have cared for us. And again, just the many opportunities that I've had and being part of Kailua Canoe Club and being a part of a canoe, being able to paddle in this canoe as we go through. So the stars represent those things and whatever other things you wanted to represent, just millions of things that are there. It also talks about the Eia Ka'ua Ike Kai, the rain that comes from the heavens to the earth that blesses the earth and refreshes it and nurtures it. It'll also talk about the wind, Ho'unakamakani, Olelo Hu'inina, the wind. We never know where the wind's coming from. We can feel it and then it goes. But the Hawaiians would talk about how the wind would bring messages to them. And then Paumai Ki'a Nui Nui, Kalania Mika Honua, the magnificence of the rainbow. Throughout many cultures, the rainbow has always been a sign of a symbol of promise, a symbol of renewal. And then Mekapu'u Vai Ha'aha'a, Mahalo Ya Oyoko is just to say that with a humble heart, we all say thank you. So that's going to be an oli I'll share, and then I'll end with the Aloha chant right after that. Mai no he ka'uhane nui, ha mai ka'ola, e ia no kala, e alohi nei, kupa ka mahina, nani ka maha'o, e ia na hoku, imo kalani. E ya kaua I ke kai. Pa mai ke anue nue. Kalani a me ka honua. Me ka puwai. Ha. Mahalo Yahweh. Ka uhane nui. Aloha ye. The last part I'll share with you is the Aloha chant, which my mom would do this for our club when she was with us here on earth, and now she's in heaven. So it's a chant of Aloha that was written by my Auntie Pilahi Paki in 1952, actually. Brought to my mom in 1962, where she was asked to put it to Oli, which is what I'll share with you today. And the chant is a chant that Auntie Pilahi would often talk about, that the kauna of it was to do things for other people with not expecting anything in return. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Listen for what's not being said. See what's not readily, that you can't readily see. And so that's and it was that was the kauna of her comments with the Aloha chant. But it was something that she would talk to me about at the age of 6 when we were living at 465A Kauai Loa Road behind that brick building over there. That was our second house. Our first house was on the beach, and then they all got condemned. So where we played on there, that used to be our playground before. My brother Charlie's around here somewhere. But Auntie Pilahi would talk about these things. But the Aloha chant is the first letter A is Hawaiian word for akahai. Akahai na Hawaii, be kind. You know, you folks have all been very good with one another, good with the people you come in contact with. You represent Kailua. This area, this moku, this Ko'olaupoku moku, which is very, very rich in everything that's here. You know, most heavily farmed area in all of Hawaii, just a special place for all of us. Kawainui and Kai'alepulu, providing fish to the ocean. But being kind and showing kindness to one another, like your coaches, they can be constructively critical, right? And so the second letter is L for Lokahi, as I mentioned. The importance of teamwork, cooperation, the importance of family that we all have, and the willingness to just bring others into your family, and you're basically cousins forever, or brothers and sisters forever, right? As a result of canoe paddling. The third letter O is Olu Olu. We say Olu Olu Kamana'o, right? To be agreeable, to see the good in people. The fourth letter is H for Ha'a, to be humble. Ha'a Kokulana, we talk about that, about being humble servants. You know, as I know I'm embarrassing Susan and Pat over there, but they're humble servants. They're down here. They got a lot of patience. I've watched them, but I really appreciate everything that they do. And that servant leadership is really powerful to see, because you see the joy in the kids' eyes when they come out of the water. You know, they come over and they just love it. You can see it, and it's just really influential. The last letter A is for the Hawaiian word ahunui, which talks about the importance of patience and perseverance. Ahunui ala nakila, through patience and perseverance we can emerge victorious. And I think all of us as canoe paddlers have benefited from, one, the relationships, the hard work that we put into our crews as we go out and paddle, the difficult discussions that we have with one another from time to time. But at the end of the day, it's that patience that we have with one another, the willingness to persevere, that have made us victorious in terms of achieving our goals and our objectives. So the Aloha chant speaks to all of those things, and it also speaks to each one of us here it's our kuleana to go ahead and pass this on down through generations. So that's the latter part of the chant. We'll talk about that, about really taking it from us to the kids, which is what Susan and Pat have been doing, and all of you that coach kids, new paddlers coming to the club, to really educate them and to be patient about that. So this is, I'm going to end with the Aloha chant, and then we'll be pa. Ye aloha ye, ye, ye. Ye aloha ye, ye, ye. Akai na vai. Lo kaya kulike, olu ka manao, ha kokulana, ya hunu ya lana kila, Yadwa ye, ye, ye. Yadwa ye, alwa ye. Aloha mai na Hawaii, ke aloha ka umea nui. E o mai na Hawaii, na puana lei na mamo. He hala mai ka lahui, laula he kaulana. E o mai ka lehu lehu. Ai o Hawaii. Ya lo ai ye ye aloha ye aloha ye aloha ye. Mahalo, me ka pu'u vai ha'a, mahalo ya oyoko, mahalo. If I can ask one more thing, if we can have our head coach from Kailua say something. Oh, here you go.
Thank you, Kamoa. It's great to have everybody back here again. And like I said, it's been a trying year for all of us trying to get things done. But I appreciate what the coaches have done, and I appreciate everybody, especially with Lansdowne. They've been keeping watch on the halas and everything. But as you can see, we're getting back together again. We're building back up. And hopefully this year, you know, as they say, we'll try to do something where we have some kind of semblance of a race or something like that. But again, it's just basically showing patience with each other. And I thank you for that. I'm so grateful that we're out here on this beautiful day, that we're celebrating this blessing right here with these two canoes. And if anything, I give my aloha to you guys, and I'm here to serve you guys. If anything, if you guys got any questions or anything, just let me know. And I want to thank the board that's been here. We got two board members here, Julie and Allie over here. But like again, I want to recognize them. If you guys want to step up, yeah, Jordan, and Landon, come up here. They don't want to. All right. But anyway, the board's been working tirelessly behind the scenes, just trying to get this thing going. It wasn't just a small group; it was a huge conglomerate of a whole bunch of people putting their ideas together and trying to get this thing to going. And I thank God that this is, like I said, appreciating everybody that's coming here and put this together. To that, I say mahalo to you guys.
One more thing. We have Kailua board members back there too. So Bernie, you want to talk about your club? No.
We're trying to get it together. We're doing registration and having right now. We have a couple of and get better and
Everybody, that's my wife.
All right.
Landon?
All right. Mahalo, everybody, and
Aloha.
aloha.
All right. Mahalo, everybody. I know. Thank you.
It's very unusual for him to only say one word, you know.
You catch him on the